Good evening. The United States is getting more involved in the civil war in Syria. The White House has just announced this evening that it will send military support to the rebels fighting to overthrow the dictatorship of Bashar al-Assad. The Obama administration has been avoiding this step, but the president made the decision after U.S. intelligence informed him that Assad's forces have used nerve gas against the rebels. This war began 2 years ago. Tens of thousands of people are dead, and the entire region has been destabilized. Major Garrett has just come from a briefing at the White House. Major?
Scott, the Obama White House has, for the first time, declared that the Syrian regime of Bashar al-Assad has used chemical weapons to kill opposition fighters. The U.S. intelligence community says the Syrian regime of Bashar al-Assad, as I said, has used the chemical weapon sarin multiple times, it says, in its war against the Syrian rebels. Now, the estimates are between 100 and 150 people have died. The administration says this, quote, crosses clear red lines, unquote. The administration announced it was approving military shipments to the rebels. Now, Scott, it's important to point out the administration has not described the quantity or the quality of the military support it will provide or when it will arrive. But it will say that this support is designed to help the rebels defend against, quote, a repressive regime. One other note, no decision has been made about whether to attempt to impose a no-fly zone. That option, though, remains on the table.
And no word on exactly what kind of weapons. Major, thank you very much. This military support comes at the moment that the rebels have lost a key town and are suffering under Assad's air force. The United Nations estimated today that 93,000 have died in the war. Clarissa Ward has made many trips into the war zone, and she's put a face to the numbers.
Even as the death toll continues to climb, no one is sure how many rebel fighters or government soldiers have been killed, nor is there a breakdown of how many civilians have lost their lives. But we can tell that many of the people we met on each of our trips inside Syria are no longer alive. In February last year, we went to Idlib and stayed at the house of a rebel fighter named Azu, renowned for his extraordinary mustache. He showed us around the old city and told us about his dreams for a better Syria. 3 days into our trip, he was killed in a gun battle. He was one of 4 killed that day. 5 months later, we returned to Idlib with a group of activists who had stolen an ambulance from the Syrian regime. We sat next to Abu Hanin as we traveled to the heart of rebel-held territory to hand out bags of medical supplies. In January, Abu Hanin was killed when a shell hit the ambulance. On our most recent trip in April, we stayed in the rebel stronghold of Jebel Azawiya. We heard government fighter jets flying low overhead. 6 bombs were dropped on the tiny village where we were staying, hitting the house next to ours. The woman living there was killed. We had met her the previous evening. Now there was nothing left of the house except the howling cries of her daughter.
Now, rebels we've managed to speak to are overjoyed at the prospect of the U.S. getting more involved. They can't quite believe what they're hearing, but of course many others are concerned that more weapons will only leave more dead.
Clarissa in London, thank you very much.